Hey, what's up? My name's Grant Kanoki. I'm a singer, songwriter, producer, and artist, and you're listening to Power 98.5.
We don't play the social game. We are social. Power 98.5. You're listening to Power 98.5, powered by United Angels Dream, your number one resource for public relations, entertainment, and multimedia. Contact them today at unitedangelsdream.com.
Hi, this is Dan Aykroyd. He's progressive. He's beautiful. He's thoughtful. He's intelligent. He's powerful. He's positive. He is Stephen Cuoco on Power 98.5 Satellite Radio.
Empowering listeners from the US to the UK. Live on air with Stephen Cuoco.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining me live on air with Stephen Cuoco on Power 98.5, coming to you direct from New York, here and all across the world. I have my dear friend, my favorite chiropractor in the entire world, Mr. Dr. Jody Serra. To give a little bit of a background about him, having suffered from asthma for the majority of his childhood and into his teens, Dr. Jody discovered chiropractic care after a friend suggested he give it a try. After speaking with a chiropractor about the nervous system needs to be functioning well in order for the rest of the body to work optimally, his interest was piqued. Dr. Jody received his first adjustment and noticed he was breathing better and sleeping better, so he continued visiting the chiropractor until his symptoms improved, so much so that he was able to exercise and play rugby in college. This was something he'd never been able to do before without risking an asthma attack. Now, that's just scratching the surface. We're going to go into full detail about Dr. Jody Serra, what he does for sports professionals, his clients. I'm one of his clients. He's based out of Lebanon, New Jersey. Welcome, Dr. Jody.
Thank you, Steve. Appreciate it.
You are very welcome. I did not know that you had suffered from asthma as a child for the majority of your childhood.
Yes. I think we've got it on the website, but yeah, that was my introduction to chiropractic, which is, pretty foreign to most people because, chiropractors, I guess, have the reputation of working on neck pain and back pain, and that's it, and headaches maybe. But someone who was a classmate of mine in high school that knew I struggled and suffered with asthma and allergies suggested I see a chiropractor. And I even said to him, I said, my back feels fine. Don't chiropractors just work on your back? And he said, well, my uncle's a chiropractor and he's helped people with asthma. So I went to see that guy's uncle, and there's just a local chiropractor right up here in Glen Gardner, New Jersey. And, he's one of those guys had the practice kind of set up in the downstairs of his house. And I walked in and told him, I said, your nephew told me you could help me with my asthma. And this guy pretty much said, get on the table, and he was, at this time, again, I was very sick. From the time I was 7 till I was a junior in high school at this time, I had struggled with asthma, and my parents took me for the standard treatment back then. This is in the 60s and early 70s. And the treatment then was they gave you, a kind of watered down version of the adult medication, which just basically stimulated your adrenal glands. So you were always kind of in like a hyper state. Like my hands used to shake. I had tremors, and my heart was always racing. I could never get a full night's sleep. Used inhalers, and at this point, I was on prednisone and a bunch of other, powerful medications. So I only weighed about 120 pounds as a junior in high school, even though I was 5'10", almost 5'11". And this chiropractor said, "Get on the table," and he was kind of a big, heavy-set guy. And he adjusted me, hadn't explained anything. And I walked out. My mom had driven me to his office. I got outside and I said, I told my mother, I am never going to the chiropractor again. And she's like, why? And I said, this guy, like, laid me down. He cracked my back. He broke my neck. I heard all kinds of noise. I have a headache now. But that night when I went home, Stephen, I slept better than I had in 10 years. And it was wasn't like I was cured, but I woke up the next morning with this uninterrupted sleep. When normally I'd have to get up and hit these, take a hit off an inhaler and take some pills and stuff. And literally just was almost the most miraculous thing that had ever happened to me. Wasn't like I was cured. I still, had difficulty breathing the next day, but it was way different than the day before. So I went back to see this chiropractor, and I said, "Don't touch me. Explain to me, what's going on." But I'm telling you, I'm feeling better than I have in years. And then he explained about, how the nervous system controls all the other systems in the body. The central nervous system is like the computer on the space shuttle that controls all the other computers. And he talked about the organs and the glands, and especially the adrenal glands, which produce these, chemicals that we call hormones or steroids. The two most important ones being adrenaline and epinephrine, which were two things that I would get, injections of if I ended up at the ER at, 3 a.m. with my parents bringing me there and stuff. So, to be honest, it sounded a little hokey, but I put my faith in him and I said, "What do I have to do?" He said, "Just come in till you're better." So I started getting adjusted a couple times a week, and I slowly got better and better, tapered off all the medication, and, it took over a period of probably a year and a half to 2 years, and started to jog. And then, I was beginning college at that point at West Virginia University. So I was jogging around campus, running around campus, and one of my classmates was playing rugby, and he's like, "Why don't you come out for the team?" And I'm like, I have never played a sport in my life, grammar school or high school, but I played rugby in college and in graduate school, and actually ended up on a national collegiate Division I championship team in my grad school. And one last note: the person who told me to go to the chiropractor, my chiropractor's nephew, is now a chiropractor today, Dr. John Murray, and he ended up at the same chiropractic college that I did, and we played rugby together, and we're best of friends since we were like in high school. So it's kind of a cool thing.
He's still in the New Jersey area?
Yeah, he's literally I would say Clinton. His address is Clinton, but he's by Spruce Run, if you know where that is.
Yeah.
Off of 31.
That's awesome.
Yep. Yeah, he's got a tremendous practice. My daughter became a chiropractor. His daughter's a chiropractor too, so it's kind of cool.
Now, your daughter doesn't work out of your office.
She does not. She has a women's only practice. She uses a little different technique that is a little gentler, and she attracts mainly women and pediatric and children and neonatal stuff. So it's a good vibe for her. She worked in an office in Morristown, New Jersey, with female staff and female doctor, and she just liked that vibe and resonates well with it, and is very busy helping a lot of people in her practice. And it's not that far. She lives in Pitchtown, New Jersey, and her practice is in Annandale, New Jersey. So Dr. Kelly Flug, if I can give her a plug, it's like PFLUG.
Absolutely.
And she's great. I send a lot of patients over there. I had a man in my office maybe 3 weeks ago who said, "Man, I'd love to get my wife in here. She has headaches. I know you could help her, but she's petrified to go to the chiropractor." And I said, "Really? What scares her?" And he's like, "Well, it's just the whole physicality of the adjusting and that." And I said, "Look, here's my daughter's card. She's 5'2", 98 pounds. It'll be like a butterfly adjusting her." So his wife went and is already getting a good result.
For those that are tuning in, we have Dr. Jody Serra. He's a good friend of mine. He's also my chiropractor. He's based out of Lebanon, New Jersey. He is the owner of Center for Natural Health and Rehabilitation. The list goes on and on about how incredibly awesome Dr. Jody is, not only with the clientele that he has, but what he does in the world of chiropractor or chiropractic, and across the world of what his clients, will quickly put him on a plane in a private vehicle and get him where he needs to go to help them get a better life and better experience to move forward and to forge a much more healthier perspective to obtain that alignment, that center homeostasis within the nervous system. And with that, I'm going to share a testimony here from one of your clients. Experienced noticeable changes. This is by Leslie A. Dr. Jody has made a huge difference in my overall well-being by eliminating chronic pain in my neck and hip. The change in how I feel was so significant that I took my athlete son who struggles with tightness and lack of mobility in his neck and shoulders. He too has experienced noticeable changes in his flexibility and overall comfort. That's powerful.
Oh yeah, we have a number of testimonials. That's just from the local office. If you were on Instagram, you can see some of the pro athletes that we work on. Jenny from NFL, Major League Baseball, and NBA player from the Knicks. So it works. It really works. And again, it's it's not always neck pain and back pain or tightness. It's really you're taking the stress off the nervous system, which helps the body to just function at a higher level. Our saying with the athletes is the better you feel, the better you play. And the better you play, the better they pay. So it's and again, it's not unique to myself, Dr. Jody. It's the teams when I first started back in the 80s, teams really frowned upon players going to the chiropractor. Fast forward to today, where every team has their own personal chiropractor that travels with the teams. The guys get adjusted at home, they get adjusted on the road. So it's a great thing. It's a great progression, and I'm glad that the medical staffs and the teams were able to see the light and see the benefit of what we do.
In the last couple decades, doctor, do you believe that insurance companies and professionals view chiropractic work differently, more responsibly, much more necessary for overall self-care than it used to?
Yes, I would say it's almost kind of like a bell-shaped curve, where when I first got out of school in like 1982, I think insurance companies were just starting to recognize the benefit of chiropractic and the value it brought to them in terms of dealing with structural musculoskeletal problems, and instead of just letting people just degenerate to the point where they needed surgery, we were an intervention that not only made a change in how they felt, but it actually worked towards correcting the cause of the problem. So many of those people who would have had surgery or ended up with injections and medication and things like that were able to avoid it. So in the long run, it saved insurance companies money, and they paid they went from not paying to paying for chiropractic, and from a few companies paying to all of them paying for it. And unfortunately, I think I don't know, like every profession, there's guys that want to gouge the insurance companies, and I think that happened a lot in the 80s and 90s. And the insurance companies, not just chiropractic, I mean across the board, they started to put limits on physical medicine. So for physical therapists and for chiropractors, I would say the reimbursement is probably down from what it used to be. They started to put limits on the number of visits, limits on how much they would pay. They made it harder to get paid. And I think this is probably across the board for insurance companies. If anybody out there has any health issues and they deal with insurance companies, I mean, it's pretty common knowledge today that, they love when we pay our premiums, but when you make a claim, it almost seems like their first step is how do I weasel out of paying this claim? So we have to jump through hoops to get paid way more than we used to, but we still do. And like I said, I would say pretty much every insurance company has coverage today, whereas back in the past they certainly didn't.
When it comes to the central nervous system, do you find that the central nervous system controls more of how it affects the body, or do you believe that the body takes precedence first? Like when someone's out of alignment, where do you address it first? Do you go to the mental root or problem, or do you automatically go to the physical root and problem?
Well, as chiropractors, we're trained to, analyze the structural balance of the spine, which in turn affects the entire nervous system. So I would say, yeah, we originally or initially worked towards correcting the structural. Those misalignments of the spine are what we call subluxations. I mean, the medical term for a dislocation is a luxation. So a subluxation is the prefix meaning, the prefix sub means less or under. So it's less than a dislocation, but there's these subtle misalignments of the spine that, it's not like a dislocated shoulder or a knee where, you can't walk or you can't lift your arm up. A subluxation, we can still function. But as a matter of fact, many times they can be painless, but they are affecting the structural integrity of that area and therefore affect the function of the joint. And part of that function is the free flow of the nerves coming in. So the message is coming from the brain down through the spinal cord, out through the nerves, out to the body. That communication network is interfered with to some degree. Like, it's still working, but it's not working optimally, if you can picture that.
So meaning more for those that are listening, it would be reference, if I'm wording this correctly, it's the peripheral.
Yeah. I mean, central nervous system is the brain and the spinal cord. Those tissues are very unique in the fact, like I said, they control all the other organ systems in the body. The spinal cord and the network of peripheral nerves is the communication network from the brain out to the body. I would say, the organs, we like to look at the organs as kind of the blue collar workers in our body, the heart, the lungs, the stomach, they keep us alive. The glands are sort of the executives. They control, really all of the functions of the body, and they're directed by the nervous system to do that. And, so the glands as the white collar workers or the executives, their importance is that they produce the chemicals that we call hormones or steroids that determine, the level of our health, the level of, our functioning, and, whether you feel good or feel bad. A lot of times that is determined by, the function in those of the glands. And our nervous system, controls that almost like a dimmer switch, and like a light getting brighter or darker depending on whether it's interfered with or not. So chiropractors clear those areas out. Everything starts to function better. But one of the first things that we find is those glands respond very quickly, and a person's hormonal balance will change for the better. One of the things we hear very often, and not just in my office, but everybody I know who's a chiropractor will tell you the same thing. A person will come in for, say, a back pain condition, and we detect the areas that are involved, but we'll make sure we clear out the entire spine. So within a few weeks of coming in to get adjusted, and if they're coming in on a regular basis, these people will come back to us and say, "Man, my back's definitely feeling better, but I have to tell you, I'm sleeping better than I have in years." And how's that happening? And again, we'll remind them we're working on your entire nervous system, which is controlling your glands and your organs, but especially the glands that make the hormones that determine whether we're, how we handle stress, how we sleep, how much energy we have.
So do you believe if someone who is dealing with anxiety, stress, as you had said, would it be better to go to a chiropractor first, and, depending on someone's, emotional, mental state of health, but would it stand to be that seeing someone such as you to address anxiety issues, that it could be a misalignment in the body, something is not in homeostasis?
100%, Steve. I mean, if you think about, America as a culture, you think about how your parents looked at medicine or your grandparents looked at medicine. Like my parents, I'm older than you, but my parents, who were born in the 30s, they looked at the medical doctor like the Pope. Like whatever he said, they would do it. If he said, take this pill, they would take the pill. So, in their entire lifetime, medicine in America and healthcare in America was, you have a headache, we have a pill for that. You have a backache, we have a pill for that. You have anxiety, we have a pill for that. Now, our society today, like I look at my generation, we question medicine, especially as chiropractors. And we say, well, what else can I do for anxiety? There's exercise, there's biofeedback, there's diet changes, there's lifestyle changes that we can do that will reduce the effect. I mean, we all have stress, but this will reduce the effect of stress on our body. Like, your generation, and you're closer in age to my kids than myself. So, my kids' generation, they 100% question it because they can just go on to, WebMD or Google and look stuff up. And, when the doctor's saying, take this pill, they're like, well, wait a minute. I'm reading about these side effects, and I'm reading that I can change, this in my body with exercise or diet and stuff like that. So, yeah, I think that 100%, Steve, that the first avenue would be to try to, if you put like, well, should I go to my medical doctor or should I go to my chiropractor? Medical doctor, really, his only weapon to help you is going to be some type of pill. And we've learned that, the quick fix is really not the answer. If a chiropractor can analyze your spine to detect whether you have any interference and clear that out and help you to handle stress better from the inside out, which is really more correcting the cause as opposed to treating the symptom, because the pill is going to treat the symptom. It's not going to correct any other imbalances. Whereas, taking the stress off your nervous system, getting your glands to function better, produce more of the chemicals your body needs, it's going to be the correct way to do it because you're going to correct the cause. It's going to have a much longer term benefit. And the last thing people need to do is take more medication.
With the whole CBD that's happening here, HGH, I just received information about a transdermal HGH, how it's going to stimulate the pituitary gland and everything like that. Would you say that with chiropractic, that the benefits, as it was shared earlier by you, since the central nervous system is the machine, where are the benefits when it comes to chiropractic and how it will benefit potentially the pituitary gland and rest of the body and its function before using homeopathic or chemicals such as CBD or HGH?
Well, you're really talking about two completely different animals. When CBD, again, and I'm no expert on either of these things, but CBD, I think, is a beneficial part of the cannabis plant. I have only read positive things about it. I don't think there's any negative side effects. And it's supposedly got some tremendous healing properties. HGH, on the other hand, you're talking about human growth hormone.
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
Okay. Again, those types of drugs were used, for years only by bodybuilders, I think, and I could be wrong, because I do know a few people have taken HGH, and again, coming from a natural health standpoint, is it healthy to put something in your body that the body can produce on its own, but is now producing it in lesser amounts just because you've gotten older? I have to think that the jury's probably out on whether that's truly healthy for you or not. Certainly, it can make you feel younger and look younger. But we've learned over time that just doing things to make you, feel different are not always good for you. So in the long run, I would say if I had to pick one of those, I'd pick the CBD, and that's something that for a while it was hard to get, but now I think you can buy it at Walmart and ShopRite. And I know New Jersey just became legal for recreational weed, but CBD is available, and and I think the good potent ones are available in the health food store. I know they keep on under lock and key. I'm not sure why, but at any rate, I would recommend that. I would probably have the opposite, anti-recommendation of HGH, only because it's just, I feel like it's a natural part of aging for men and for women. As we get older, our bodies stop producing the hormones they produced when we were in our teens and 20s and 30s, and there's a reason why. Again, I know plenty of people do it, and plenty of people are happy with the results they get, but I just feel in the long run it may not be the healthiest thing for the body.
I appreciate that share, because I hear hits and misses about these things and get approached, and I don't use or touch either one, but someone just approached me about an HGH transdermal homeopathic, allegedly. But, I always say, where you can find balance without going to chemical first or whatever it may be, even if it's natural, why not? And I'd rather come to you and have a conversation with you of what's going on in my life and what I'm experiencing before going to even something that's over the counter. Because with a regimented adjustment or periodical judgment or adjustment, I'm sorry, I would rather do that and see where the benefits and results would come from than becoming complacent and reliant on something that I could most likely manage myself in my day-to-day life with your help.
You're speaking my language, Steve. I love that. And don't forget, there is a whole world of functional medicine and nutrition where there's natural supplements you can take. Again, I've got a couple colleagues that are great. They have practices where people reach out to them from all over the world. They do Zoom, consultations, and they do recommend, like you said, over-the-counter supplements that anybody can buy. And but they direct them specifically. They'll do, like, say, blood work and urinalysis, possibly hair analysis, and then be able to tell that person exactly where they are and what they think would benefit them most. With, say, if a goal in mind is, hey, I want to put on some muscle, I want to get a little leaner, I want to feel a little more vital. What can I do? And then that advice I would take, as opposed to just popping like HGH or something like that.
Have you ever found in your years of chiropractic, doctor, that there has ever been a misconception about your profession? And if you have experienced that, heard of it, or have experienced that with yourself, what would you say to help inspire and teach someone to let them know what chiropractic is all about and what specifically you do from the facts and experience to reassure someone that when they come into your office, this is what they have to look forward to?
I would say that the misconception about chiropractic was sort of fed by the AMA back in the, I guess, in the 60s or 70s, where they really had an organized campaign to discredit the chiropractic profession. So, if you back then, if you asked your medical doctor, hey, what do you think about me going to the chiropractor for these headaches? They actually had, sort of talking points sent to them by the AMA to discredit the chiropractic profession. They would say they're cult. It's a cult. They're quacks. They don't know what they're doing. They don't have the schooling. It's dangerous and all this and that. So that generation, which would sort of be my parents' generation, I think some people bought into it. I still hear that stuff once in a while. The AMA was called on the carpet. Some of their former employees of the AMA itself, came forward and sort of were like whistleblowers and brought some documentation to the American Chiropractic Association, who then turned and sued the AMA successfully over that. It's like a non-competition type of lawsuit. I forget what you call it actually, but it was a class action suit, and the Chiropractic Association did win, and the AMA was forced to send retraction letters to every medical doctor in America that said, this is now what you tell people when they ask about chiropractic. So the truth kind of came out, and it is a much better environment for chiropractic. So it's very rare that I run into anybody like that in my office, because if someone has made the commitment to, like, well, I'm going to, I've tried everything else, I'm going to go to the chiropractor. If they call our office, they're already part of our world. Like, they already are, they want to know, why should I come in? And I think that we have a very, a good system to lead them, and kind of hold their hand, going from never being to a chiropractor to becoming a great, educated chiropractic patient in our office, and as well as an advocate. If you look at some of our testimonials, you'll see that some people will say, I've never been to the chiropractor, and I was amazed at the results that I got. and we have again, I've been doing it for 38 years, so we have, I think, a very uh, smooth and elegant system that we take every new patient through, where from the moment that they walk in the door, and actually from the first phone call that they make to our office, we want to allay any of those fears and let them know, listen, you've made a great choice, and we're happy that you're here, and these are the things that you can expect, and I wanted to have the opposite experience that I had with my first chiropractic adjustment, where this guy laid me on the table and just adjusted me without explaining anything. Like, if anything, we over explain, but we make sure people understand. We make sure that they're comfortable with it, and it becomes a good experience for them as well as for our team too.
What's so impressive is, and with that piece and that share, and I want to thank you, Doctor, is this explains why you have such a vast clientele in so many different areas of profession and across the board from, ages. And you now have someone in your office that you adjusted as a child, and
oh yeah. Yeah. Dr. Joe.
Dr. Joe, love him.
So now, do you know the whole story? Did he talk to you about that?
He did tell me the story during the hypervolt. And, but if you want to go ahead and reshare that, I would love to hear it. And I'm sure the listeners would love to hear it, because this is amazing that those that you used to adjust as a kid now are coming to you, and Dr. Joe is now working with you.
Yes. So, back, well, I guess that's if he was, 20, 30 years ago, whenever his mom and dad came in to our office and brought Joe and his sister, Maria Elena, in. And at the time, Joe was 6 years old. Maria Elena, I guess, was probably 3 or 4 years old. And he got adjusted in my office as a child. We actually were friends with his mom and dad. And then they eventually moved out to Pennsylvania, and I kind of lost touch with him for a while. But through social media, I reconnected with Dr. Joe, who was just a college student, and he one day came and said, "Hey, I'm going to go to chiropractic school." And I said, "Man, that's awesome." And he came by my office, and he came by and got adjusted before he started chiropractic school, and we got a picture together, and he brought that up. We actually look pretty young, because that had to be 6 or 7 years ago. But he graduated a couple of years ago, and he worked in Pennsylvania for a while, and then came, and during the COVID, we had sort of pivoted. We had a great associate doctor, but she was now home with her kids, so we needed some help, and Joe came in and kind of interned for a little bit, and then we hired him on as a full-time doctor. So it's great having someone who got to experience our office firsthand as a child, and is now a full-time busy doctor in our office.
And what I love about his approach is, for me, sometimes I rotate between you two. What I love is that my body lets me know who to go to when I need you. And when I made my most recent appointment, they were like, "Well, we can get you in with Dr. Joe." I was like, "I need more of a progressive approach. My body is requiring." I was like, "I need to stick with Dr. Jody right now." But I know,
and that was a great adjustment, by the way. I remember.
It really was, and I'm still feeling the effects of it. And
Okay.
I know when to go to Dr. Joe. With that being said, your clientele within the sports industry is beyond impressive. The steady clientele, especially when in season, from Odell Beckham to Saquon Barkley. Have you found a difference between your professional players to, say, someone like myself or Dr. Joe? Is there a difference between a life or lifestyle that you can let the listeners or even myself know that you found a difference that you can share in a way to where, whether you're a stay-at-home mom or a professional football player, where are the similarities, or is it just understanding who you are as an individual, and that's what you look at for each individual person?
Well, I can say that probably most of the athletes that I've worked on over the years, and again, this goes way back to the 1980s. I had the opportunity to work on a few of the San Francisco 49ers. Now, people that are my age will remember Joe Montana and Jerry Rice, and those were two of my first NFL clients. They sought me out. They were on the West Coast. They worked with a good friend of mine, Dr. Nick Athens, in San Carlos, California. And when they were on the East Coast, I treated them if they played the Jets or the Giants or the Eagles or the Redskins. And I would say that the biggest difference, again, we treat every client the same, but with football, Emmitt Smith, once I saw he was interviewed by one of our chiropractic trade magazines, and Emmitt Smith, who's a running back, said, being a running back in the NFL is like having 30 car accidents on a Sunday afternoon, which I've never forgot that quote. I think it's a great one. So there's a lot more structural stuff where we do a lot more kind of repair and recovery for those guys. And then we do a lot of prep before a game. But, for the average person, like I think you said, the stay-at-home mom, we all have stress. The stay-at-home moms have as much stress as anybody else. And structurally, all of us have physical demands in our lives. Sometimes the physical demand is that I've got to commute in my car for, 45 minutes each way in traffic or an hour each way. I've got to sit at a desk at a computer. I've got to, drive a truck or drive a bus or, anything that puts stress on the body in a physical way should be dealt with and should be relieved if we can relieve it. So, my saying with stress is that we all have not just the physical stress, but mental stress, emotional stress. We have work stress, family stress, financial stress, and stress is something that we go to sleep with it at night and we wake up in the morning and it's still there. And now we have a whole nother layer of COVID stress, and quarantine stress and businesses closed and it's upped the stress level tremendously. So, and that's one of the reasons I feel that all the good chiropractors I know are busy, like busier than they've ever been. And our offices, we're booming because people are stressed and people are stuck at home and everybody knows, people that go to the chiropractor know how good they can feel after an adjustment. I don't think there's anything out there that gives you more bang for your buck in terms of, you walk in feeling one way, you walk out feeling totally different. And it's drug free and it's something that lasts, as we take the stress off the nervous system, the whole body says, thank you.
Because what's that?
Go ahead. I was going to say, did that answer your question?
It sure did. It sure did. I knew you were going to do well in this interview.
I apologize. Sometimes I get off on a tangent, Steve, so you just got to reel me in.
I love it. That's what I love the most about this is about you. So tangent or not, we are here to be informative. We're here, for myself as someone that's in public relations and media and journalism, the context needs to come from you as much as possible or as little as possible. What we need to hear in the best way to move forward without over embellishing or underrating it or so, if you may. So you've been doing this and within this, experiencing it since you were a kid. You graduated in 1982. You know what you're doing. I continue to come back every single time because I trust to know that you know what you're doing.
Well, thank you, Steve. I appreciate that.
Because chiropractic had played such a pivotal role in his own life, Dr. Jody knew that this was the career path for him. He chose to attend the renowned Palmer College of Chiropractic, where he received his Doctor of Chiropractic. After graduating in 1982, Dr. Jody began helping patients feel better naturally with hands-on approach to care. He does that for me. He does that for many people in the industry, from the NFL to, for myself, entertainment, to even stay-at-home moms, kids. What I would like to know, Doctor, is with the Center for Natural Health and Rehabilitation, and those that can go to your website and your place in Lebanon, you do travel as well. So anyone that would like to receive your services, how would you like them to contact you? What's the best approach when it comes to coming to your office or to bring you to travel to them?
Okay. Well, I mean, the easiest thing, if someone's close enough to do it, our website is lesspainbetterhealth.com. You can go there. There's actually a link. You can sign up. You can fill out the new patient forms. Got directions to the office, hours, all that kind of stuff. You could always call the office. The number's on the website. If you need help with that, you could reach out on Instagram. Steve, can I give a plug for my Instagram?
Absolutely. Give all the plugs.
It's just Dr. Jody _, just DRJODY _. Check out the page. You'll see some of the athletes that we work on. And then if there's a link there to another kind of a specialized athlete page, it's called specialteamselite.com. I had a partner in that, but she's since moved to Pennsylvania. But that's a page that's got a number of our athletes on there from a little bit further back in the day. So, go to the website, you can go to Instagram, you can DM me. I would say travel wise, it's typically airfare and hotel, and then there's a fee we charge per day to be away from home. But we've traveled, last football season, I traveled with a player from Cleveland who, 8 of those games were in Cleveland. So I had to fly, out of Newark to Cleveland, which is not a bad flight. It's only an hour or so. And then 8 games were away. So that was like Phoenix, Denver, San Francisco, Baltimore, New England, Pittsburgh. So that something like that is, that took up my whole schedule. So I really didn't accept any other athletes that time, for that period. I think it was about 17 weeks, but, it certainly can be arranged. I've had clients reach out to me on Instagram. A soccer player who played for Juventus, a team in Italy, who wanted a house call. Unfortunately, it was right before COVID, but I told him my fees and the travel arrangements, and he agreed to it. But then COVID struck, so I didn't travel for a while after that.
And to those that are listening and tuning in, you can contact Dr. Jody at his office at 908-236-6353, 908 area code 236-6393, lesspainbetterhealth.com.
6353, Steve.
So, I'm sorry, 6353. I don't have my glasses on.
That's okay.
We're going to redo this again.
Okay, that's
Area
cool.
code 908-236-6353. Once again, 908-236-6353. I'm so spoiled. I just have Dr. Jody in the phone, and I just dial that, and I don't have to save the number.
There you go.
But at least you know your own number.
Everybody should have it in their phone.
Everybody should. Dr. Jody. Who would you like to give a shout out to?
Well, first of all, I'd like to thank you, Steve, for, inviting me on. I wasn't sure, I get a lot of requests to do stuff, and I'll be honest with you, I often say no thanks. Because we're busy, and I'm busy, and my free time is my free time. But I appreciate something like this. I think it's a great thing to be able to get the word out, for people. And again, I am a chiropractor, and there are a lot of great chiropractors out there. I'm not saying you have to come see me, but you could, if you live too far and you don't want anybody to travel to you, you can contact us and we'll find you a chiropractor in your town or in your city or in your state. We have a directory that lists every chiropractor in America. I personally have colleagues all over the world, a lot in North America, some in South America, some in Asia, some in Europe. So we can find you somebody. We actually found a chiropractor for one of our patients who actually he's over here in the summers, and in the winters he's in Switzerland. We found him a chiropractor. So I would say, thank you to you, Steve. I appreciate you having me on, and I look forward to, maybe doing this again sometime.
I would love to have you on as, one of my, professional consultants, like what they do on TV. Anytime you have information, something is happening, there's changes going on, maybe within the medical profession, in the world, post-pandemic, everyone really needs to be educated, because I'm going to say from experience, there was lack of education when it came to chiropractic and how well it benefited your health, because it was normally to where you were told, go to a doctor. Chiropractic was viewed, as like a luxury, like going to a massage therapist. Why?
Right.
Is beyond me. This is not a luxury. This is a necessity.
100%.
So you're
Agreed.
more than welcome to come. I know you will always have insight, information for everyone here and across the world. Dr. Jody, Center for Natural Health and Rehabilitation, area code 908-236-6353. I want to thank everyone for tuning in today, live on air with Stephen Cuoco on Power 98.5. This episode will air tomorrow at 8 a.m. Eastern time, and I'm going to go ahead and put it as a 1 p.m. segment. As well. So tune in Friday, 8 a.m., 1 p.m., March 19th. And if you don't catch the 8 o'clock, you can catch the 1 o'clock. We are available on Alexa, iOS, Android. We just got picked up by radio.com, one of the largest platforms out there. We are on Streama, streamitter.com, Radio Line, MyTuner, 24/7. Live music. Live on air with Stephen Cuoco. There's no way to miss these episodes, and definitely this episode with Dr. Jody Serra. I want to thank you for being with us today, Doctor, and I will be seeing you very soon. And this last adjustment I received really, really is paying off. I'm truly feeling less duress in my body because of that alignment.
Excellent. Oh, thank you, Steve.
Thank you, everyone, and don't know if it's raining where you are, but it is where I am and where Dr. Jody's at. And whether you're having a wet day or a dry day, make it the great one. Schedule an appointment with Dr. Jody. If the sunshine's not there with you, bring sunshine to you. Or go to Sunshine, Center for Natural Health and Rehabilitation, Lebanon, New Jersey.
Great.
Friend us on your socials and let's connect.